Join us as we talk with Dr. Ronda Frueauff and discuss best practices for 21st century teaching, learning, and leading. All coming up next in the chat room. Welcome to the chat room. I'm Frank O'Gara, your host today. With us in the studio is Dr. Ronda Frueauff, Superintendent of the Fort Huachuca Accommodation School District in Arizona. In 2012, she was selected by the Governor's Office and the State Superintendent of Instruction to serve on the Arizona Steering Committee to establish an integrated technology system for Arizona schools. Dr. Frueauff was recently selected as a Distinguished Administrator for the Superintendent's Division and was also presented by the military with a Commander's Award for Public Service. Welcome to the chat room, Dr. Frueauff.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you with us today for a very important topic, and that, of course, is 21st century teaching and learning and the facilities that support that learning. Now, you have a great story to tell on how you made a connection to us, and I'd like to begin the program today by having you relate that story to our viewers.
When I was getting ready to, or in the middle of planning for our new school in Fort Huachuca, Arizona, we started to look at places and look for information. So one of the places that I was told about was the visioning documents and reports that DODEA had done regarding their 21st century schools. So I went on the web and I started researching those documents and the information. And once I read through it, I decided that it was in the time of public comments. So I thought, well, I'll just put my comment in there about, well, this is a great document. These are wonderful designs and plans. So I just want you to know that we're doing this in Fort Huachuca, Arizona, and we'd love to have a conversation about it. And then from there, we started getting connected and had a conversation. And then almost a year and a half later, I'm sitting here talking with you.
Well, we were grateful to make that connection, Rhonda, and your input certainly has helped us a lot. Your project, of course, was the building of Colonel Smith Middle School. And you had a vision as you began that project that developed over time for the facility that you created there. Can you talk a little bit about that vision and how you were able to bring it to the implementation stage?
One of the important things to me was to make it the school one in which the students felt engaged, one in which the students felt a real active part of their education. And so I started doing a concept paper that collected a lot of information that I had acquired over my years in education. So I put the concept paper together, and then I started talking to people about my idea of having a collaborative school where students were engaged and where parents were engaged as well, and where the teachers were the facilitators of the learning, but the school was student-centered. So we began that conversation, and we ended up with a space that is a facility that is a teaching tool in and of itself. It teaches the students about energy conservation, about technology infrastructure, and it also engages them using technology in monitoring of sustainability of a school building.
I want to talk about each of those things, but I think that one of the most interesting things for us is the fact that the facility was not the driver here, but it was the educational program. Can you talk a little bit about that?
When I've built a number of schools in my career, and this is the third one that I've built on Fort Huachuca. So one of the things I wanted to do was to say, if we start with the vision of the education program, and then we start talking about the products and the processes that we can use to build a facility that will not impede learning, that will be so flexible and adaptable that it can change as the students' needs change. So that's what really drove it. It was a program designed to have integrated instruction, project-based learning with a STEM focus, driven by the student interest and 21st century skills, because we know we need to get our students much more engaged in science, engineering, and mathematics. So we are using technology as one of our tools to do that, and we're driving this forward with the notion that if they're in an experiential active-based programming, they're going to be much more likely to be engaged and to do more research on their own. So it really was about building a school that would let us do all of these things, would not be a barrier to any of the ideas that teachers would come up with or students would come up with.
Rhonda, you mentioned some important guiding principles, and one of those was having a student-centered teacher as a facilitator. Can you talk about what that means and what it looks like in your school?
Well, one of the things that we did, we decided that we wanted the students engaged from the beginning in the design of the school, because we thought, well, if we're going to really talk about a student-centered school, then they need to be in the dialogue. So we had students on our design team. We had students in dialogue. Every time we put something together in our development team, we would take it back to a group of students and have those students talk with us about, what do you think about this? Now, of course, to be perfectly honest with you, when we told them we were going to give all of them an iPad, that was about all they could focus on. They were like, okay, we love the iPad. So then they started talking about the idea of what do we do in this building? Because to them, this was a new concept. And I said, well, it's about you and your teacher talking about your learning, talking about projects, having essential questions drive what you're going to be doing in your classroom. So when we move forward, then the teachers with the students chose some words that we stamped into the concrete as the students come into the building. We got a group of students who will be 8th graders. They were 7th graders last year. They will be 8th graders in this new building to create kiosks that give information to the students as they walk across the bridges that lead them into the school. So they did a project as part of a project-based learning example that is a part of the school. And we wanted them to understand, when it's student-centered, it really is about how do we bring forth all your strengths and how do we unfold all of your potential by putting you in situations in which you can use 21st century skills, collaboration, to become a better learner and to become a better student.
I heard you talking about creating a sense of place. Can you talk a little bit about that and what it looked like at Fort Huachuca?
One of the things that we thought about is because our students are military connected, we thought we want to make them feel immediately at home, not as if this is a new school and a new change for them, although it is. So we thought we'll do two things. We'll put in a toy lab, technology orientation and integration lab, that will bring them in and orient them to our type of programming in our school. We'll also assess them academically to give us an idea of what we might need to do to help assist them in order to transition. And then we put a world map graphic in our research commons where they can tell us where they've been and talk with people and start to find other students who've been in the same places they've been. We called it a research commons because we changed the names of our rooms to give people an idea of how far we could really actually go in a middle school to change the attitude of the students about learning. So if we reframed it with a different name, such as our collaboration space, our flexible learning stations, our classrooms are flexible learning stations, we have an art integration lab, we have our research commons, our student union. So we put different tags on those rooms so that we could not have people, it's almost as if it broke them free to think about what they could really do in the school, and the idea that they have a video productions lab and they have all this technology that they themselves are going to be able to work with their teachers and the other students in their grade level to utilize as effectively as they can.
Now, Rhonda, once kids get inside, I've heard that you've done some incredible things with the space. Can you talk a little bit about the pods?
The pod itself is divided into 5 instructional spaces. One is the STEM lab, and the other 4 are flexible learning spaces. Flexible learning spaces meet at an area known as a collaboration space. That collaboration space is divided from those classrooms by glass walls that move. They are floor to ceiling. They are designed to allow the teacher who is teaching a content area to be able to actually make her classroom a normal size classroom, or to open it up in a way in which the students can go outside into the collaboration space and do work while she's doing other work with students in the classroom. Or to have it be a time when she's doing work with the students and she does close her glass door and let other kids go out to do projects, or other teachers are out there in that space doing projects. So it all opens up to a very large instructional space. The idea behind it is that there's no limitations to our integration. And one of the things that we know about some of our students, they really need to see that connection between content. They really need it to be orchestrated through a projects-based or problems-based type of instructional program. So if we can help them do that through that design of instruction that brings them into a large room, back into a small room, there's all flexible furnishings in this area that it can move anywhere. It has an outdoor space that opens out to, through a glass wall, that opens out to a space that they can go outside. In our area, we have a really fairly moderate temperature. January and February, it's cold, but most of the other time you can go outside, especially after about 10 o'clock. It's really nice. So they can be outside a great deal in this particular climate. The other thing that we do is we put our STEM lab, our science teacher, in a space that would allow her to use engineering, have engineering as a part of her curriculum, as well as all the technology, and partnering with the math teacher that she'll be able to bring in the STEM focus that we're talking about.
Technology, of course, is a big piece, and I've heard you talk about integrated technology. Tell me a little bit about technology and how your teachers are using it.
We have Promethean boards in our schools. We have a Mediascape, which is a project tool that allows students to actually work on laptops and create products, common products, collectively and collaboratively. We also have in all of our rooms, we have a wall that's, and I consider technology anything, so I consider this wall technology as well. It's a wall talker, so the students can write on the wall at any time, and it erases just like a whiteboard. So it's one big, huge whiteboard wall, and they can engage in different kinds of activities using that. We have also an iPad for all of our students that they will be using those apps, and they will be using those to help them with their ebooks and research, and also where they will put all of their work in their folders and in their files. We've added some literature books into our iPads, and as the companies start to produce the products, we will put them in. We have some algebra apps that are going to replace our algebra books. So as things come forward that will help us, we're rolling it into this program. So we're probably 3 to 5 years away from, being, as people would say, without books, if there is such a thing, because I think students also need every tool that we have to help them learn.
Now, this had to be a major change for teachers. So how did you approach this with your teachers? What kinds of professional development you did? Where were teachers with regard to the technology and their ability to implement this?
We started using our data first. Looking at our data to say we have high achieving students and our schools are high achieving, but we are not perfect. So we can always improve. So in order to get them to understand the need to improve, we started talking about the fact that students were very attached to technology, and how do we infuse that technology into our classrooms and into our instruction. Once we started that conversation, then we ended up looking at the 21st century skills, and we started looking at STEM and all the other initiatives that are going on across the nation, and we decided that we needed more in order to engage all students all the time, because you have a short day in a school to make sure that every moment is one that is actually bringing out the best in everyone. And so when we started talking about it, I started asking them questions about some of the barriers and some of the things that they felt were issues. And so, of course, we were in an old building, and they said, well, we can't get to our science labs. We only have one. We don't have this. We don't have that. Those types of conversations. We have labs, so our students don't always have the technology. So when we started talking about giving them things that were going to help them, then they were open to a conversation about how that could look. So we kind of talked about how we can mutually help each other in this process. So I asked them to give me some idea of things that they would want to do. And then we designed professional development, where we embedded instructional coaches and specialists right into the building to help them integrate technology. And we use what's called a technology integration matrix that helps us figure out where teachers are on a spectrum, and helps us design coaching lessons and professional development and modeling that will help them be more comfortable. So there's somebody there in their classroom and in their building that is right there to be an expert to help them. That's number one. They needed the coaching. Number two is we have early release every week, and we have professional development designed to get our teachers to the level where they can function in this particular school. And in the other two schools, they're feeding this same program. So we actually bring those two buildings into this for professional development. They have the technology specialists and the professional development, and they are doing the inquiry and they're doing the project-based learning as well, so that the students will be prepared to be in the middle school. So we decided to find out where they were, where we thought we needed to take them, and then bring them together in a professional development. So they orchestrate that. We have a district leadership team that actually works with us on the instructional delivery and design and the strategies that we want to use. And then they are weaving that in through the teacher leaders in each building.
Well, you've obviously built some fabulous supports there, but what comes to mind for me is what happens to your students when they leave your middle school and they go to a high school? What if the same kinds of technology aren't available? What if the same kinds of teaching practices aren't available in that school? Is this a concern? Concern might not be the right word. We're very cognizant of it. So what we're going to work on is trying to build into the students the notion that they control their learning, making them highly accountable for their acquisition of knowledge. And when you put them in a student-centered school, you build the responsibility and accountability, then it really, wherever they go, they will have the tools that they can access to do their research and to actually acquire knowledge. So it's almost as if we're giving them a toolkit to take with them. Even though they may go into a more traditional school, they can still utilize the technology and utilize their ability to ask questions and provoke thinking and to move forward in their own education. And I think we have to move them there as quickly as possible, especially our military-connected children, because they go many places. So their skills need to be within them in order for them to transition. Absolutely, and I think parents would wholeheartedly agree with you. Speaking of parents, how do parents, what do they think about your facility, about the program, and what's happening in your school?
Well, one of the things, as I said, in our design team, we had parents in that conversation. And then when we had the students do the dialogue before the school was ever built, there were parents who would come to the design team meetings and say, you've created havoc for me at home because my child is saying, I don't want to leave this place. I want to go to the new school. So that was the first thing that happened. Yeah. We had kids who said, wait, I want to get an iPad. So a lot of that kind of conversation that was taking place with our families. But the other thing that we did was in this school, we gave the parents a space. We have a parent center that's designed for the parents to be able to come in and do PTSO activities, do any kind of parent meetings, because we really want the community to partner with us and to help us do what we do. And we've reached out to our military community as well and brought in a lot of our NetCom people to work with us on our technology and our infrastructure so that we can make sure that we bring in the experts from our community to engage with the students. So we have a number of mentors that are going to be engaged in this new school that are coming out of our Army community, and some of them are parents and some of them are not. But the parents are going to be a major source of encouragement for the students because they really have to engage with us. It's all about that whole community and the school and the parents and the students coming to that ultimate level of achievement.
It's about relationships.
It's most certainly about the relationship. And it's about the notion that we really all need to be articulating about education and how we can do things better. And our parents have really good perspectives because most of our parents have been in a number of schools with their children. Absolutely. And so their perspectives are bringing in lots of experiences from a number of places. So we really want to work hard in bringing them to the forefront of this school.
I was fascinated during your presentation about the connection that you've made to energy conservation. Can you talk a little bit about what's happening in your school, and in particular what students are doing to contribute to energy conservation in their school?
One of the things that we wanted to make this building was it was actually be an experiential learning lab. And one of the things that is most important on Fort Huachuca, we're very interested in water conservation and we're very interested in energy generation. So the sustainability initiative from the Army perspective kind of guided us as we were moving forward. And so we thought, well, how do we make this interactive, engaging? So one of the things that we had heard about were energy dashboards. So we had a particular energy dashboard designed for this school. Group of teachers designed it with a company, and it monitors 37 sources of energy. And it graphs it on this screen, and it generates reports, and we are harvesting water in order to irrigate our school.
That's incredible.
So it will monitor the water storage. It will monitor how much of the rain goes in there and how much we have used, and then it will help the students begin to see if we are using energy too much in a particular area. It'll give them some means by which to go and see what's going on.
And this isn't abstract for them. I mean, they have you said a dashboard.
They have a dashboard on the wall, and then they have an app on their iPad that they can pull up this dashboard at any time on their iPad and use it as part of their instruction. We have wind turbines outside of our building that are monitored so that they can see how much wind energy we can generate. We aren't really a place where wind is a great source, but we can generate about 2 to 3% of our energy. And we have the photovoltaic panels. And also, the biggest part of this building is that it's very much oriented for daylighting, so that the natural source of sunlight lights our school. And we do not expect to use our lights in the daytime at all in this school, because we have skylights and we have clerestories, and we have it oriented in a way in which we take the greatest advantage of daylight. We've tried to put as many pieces into the school that will let the students understand that they really help in the sustainability, and they help in impact or hurt in the environment and its impact.
And that's certainly a powerful message for students. Now, like you, we're headed down the path of a major military construction program and really a transformation on the way that we approach teaching and learning in our classrooms. Do you have any final thoughts for us as we go down that path that you've already gone down, I might add, successfully?
I think the number one thing I would tell everyone is to make this owned by all the people. That was one of the things that we started out doing. The teachers started to own this idea, and the students then began to own it. And now the Army community has embraced this. And our team that did the development of the design of the school, they own it. So everybody has this sense of this school being something they have contributed to personally, and therefore by that ownership, it will perpetuate itself. So if you can create that capacity within your system to engage everyone in the process to the level that they feel a major part of it, then it cannot fail because they own it.
That's great advice, and we really appreciate it. I know this connection will not be the end of our conversation with you, and we greatly appreciate you coming in and sharing your story with us today.
Well, I appreciate it, and thank you very much, Frank. It's nice talking with you.
For more information on our 21st Century facilities, visit our website. Thank you for joining us in this edition of The Chat Room.